How's it going, gamers? Chongo here again with another video for you guys, and today it's a series that I'm going to do every second Friday, and it's a road to an IT degree. Now, basically last episode I talked about orientation and how to apply for your classes and all that kind of stuff, but in today's episode I'm going to be more talking specifically about my units that I've got in IT in my first semester, as well as some basic differences from high school to university that I've noticed in my 2 weeks. Now, some differences that I have noticed from uni to high school is, first off, in high school, you know how you had to, like, if you wanted to leave the classroom for whatever reason, you always had to ask a teacher and all that kind of stuff, whereas in uni, you pretty much just get out and walk out, no one's going to stop you. Majority of the time, the teacher won't even care. And also in lectures as well, you can pretty much walk out and not really attend, and attendance isn't even really compulsory on most of the classes, only on the ones that actually go to your assessment, and even then, yeah, they don't really care if you turn up or not because you're actually the one paying them money to get a degree. And also another thing I've noticed is in high school, you know how you can basically hand in multiple drafts for each subject and the teacher's happy to mark it. With university, they don't tend to mark it as in read through and write notes on it. They basically just look at it for a couple of seconds and provide general criticisms, just simply because most tutors and lecturers and all that kind of stuff have quite a busy schedule because a university has a lot more students than a high school and they don't really have the time to go through your draft like that. So if you want to go and do that, you're probably going to need to find someone else or get your own tutor, or I suppose at our university you can hand your drafts into the library if you want someone to have a quick look over it, but even then they're still not going to do it to the extent that probably your high school teachers did. So yeah, just be aware of that when you're writing a draft. You're probably going to have to do your own proofreading and that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to get on to the units that I've chosen for first semester, and most first year students who've just come straight out of university, the first 4 units that they choose, you can choose less or more depending on how you feel about it, but most people choose 4. So anyway, there's 4 compulsory units that you must have done to get your IT degree. It doesn't matter if you do them first year, second year, or third year, but most people just go for the 4 compulsory ones straight up so that then you can branch off into whichever area you want. So the first unit that's compulsory is 101. It's the impact of IT, and it pretty much just gives you a broad overview of it, and most of it's not really practical. It's more just, yeah, learning, you know, theory and all that kind of stuff behind it, and it's, yeah, basically the impact of IT on the world and like cloud storage and all that kind of stuff. And since it's not really a practical subject, it's more about the theory and that kind of stuff, most of the homework is just really reading. It's not hardcore, you know, programming or anything like that. That's a different unit completely. And I think the assessment for this is pretty much a massive multiple choice test, so it seems to start off with it's a very basic sort of unit and supposed to get you into uni pretty much and get started into it. Now the second compulsory unit is emerging technology, and this is so far one of my favorite classes just because most of the lessons when you go and do practicals with your tutors and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty much you just searching on the internet for emerging technology and yeah, doing that stuff so far. And it seems very interesting that they've got a whole subject to just emerging technology, so you can go look at the iPad and all that kind of stuff, but me personally, I'd prefer to look at other stuff other than just the iPad sort of thing. Like one lesson we were talking about this really small computer that's basically the size of a credit card, and the assessment for that class is assignments, but it's basically in-class assignments. You don't have to do too much outside of class besides just reading up on other emerging technologies. Now the third compulsory unit is called Industry Insights, and this one sort of provides you an insight into how your career would be like in basically IT, and it's more of just a subject like, I think you do portfolios and that kind of stuff, so it's sort of showing you how you'd get into the IT field as well, which I sort of think is a good subject since after you finish the degree you're going to want to get into the IT field, so this is probably going to help you move over into that area. And the assignments for that is pretty much just like a business proposal and stuff like that, typing reports and yeah, all that kind of stuff, which if you've done stuff like business in high school, it's pretty much like that. Now the fourth compulsory unit and my final unit in my semester for this semester is building IT systems. Now this is pretty much the major practical one. All the others aren't as practical as this. This is basically programming with something called Python, which if you go to python.org you can download it and do that. It's just a really basic programming sort of software, and what they do in classes, instead of just each individual person sitting at a computer, because they've done studies and found out that it's a lot harder for one person to sit there and program, it's much better to have 2 people, and they call that pair programming, just simply because if I've got a problem, I can just ask my pair and they can help me, and it works a lot better than just one person sitting at a computer getting mad. So that actually is a pretty good system, and the way they work that is they have one person typing, the other person just sort of like talking through it and providing insight, and then you sort of swap. And honestly, doing it's actually a lot easier, because then you don't have many questions to ask the teacher, because usually one of the pair would know, and then yeah, you can move on a lot quicker and do more as a pair. Also in this series, probably at the end of each episode, I'll see if I can provide a little insight into which job I'm sort of looking for, or which area would rather move into at the moment, because I can pretty much say now I don't think I'm going to be a programmer. That's just one area I don't really want to go into now, just because I think it's a little bit too complicated for me, and yeah, I want to move into something else. So yeah, hopefully at the end of each episode I can provide a little bit of insight into where I want to go, and that'll probably impact a little bit more later on after I finish this semester, when I choose my next lot of units, which will be a lot more specific into, yeah, different classes instead of just all these really broad ones. It'll be, yeah, a lot more specific into like IT systems, programming, and all those kind of subjects. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of my Road to an IT Degree series. Please leave any comments below, and if you like it, give it a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and I'll have another episode of this up in 2 weeks. See you guys next time.